Good morning everyone. This is class 12th, subject chemistry, chapter number 1, solid state, lecture number 6. In this lecture I shall be discussing electric and magnetic properties of solid, and in the end I will discuss the homework solution of lecture number 5. In the last lecture we have discussed the imperfection in solids. In this lecture, I shall discuss the electrical and magnetic properties of solids. Solids exhibit an amazing range of electrical conductivities extending over 27 orders of magnitude, ranging from 10 to the power minus 20 to 10 to the power 7 ohm inverse meter inverse. Solids can be classified into three types on the basis of their conductivities. First is conductors. The solids with conductivities ranging between 10 to the power to 10 to the power 4 to 10 to the power 7 ohm inverse meter inverse. These are called as conductors. Metals have conductivities in the order of 10 to the power 7 ohm inverse meter inverse are good conductors. So conductors are those in which the conductivity is ranging between 10 to the power 4 to 10 to the power 7. Second is insulators. Insulators, these are the solids with very low conductivities ranging between 10 to the power minus 20 to 10 to the power minus 10 ohm inverse meter inverse. Third is semiconductors. These are the solids with conductivities in the intermediate range from 10 to the power minus 6 to 10 to the power 4 ohm inverse meter inverse. So on the basis of conductivities, solids are classified into conductors, insulators and semiconductors. Now next is conduction of electricity in metals. A conductor may conduct electricity through movement of electrons or ions. Conductors are further classified into two types: metallic conductors, second is electrolytic conductors. Metallic conductors. In metallic conductors, the flow of electricity is due to the flow of electrons, and conductivity of a metal depends on the number of valence electron available per atom. So in metallic conductors, electrons are responsible for the flow of electricity, and the conductivity will depend upon the number of valence electron available per atom. Whereas in electrolytic conductors, flow of electricity takes place to a good extent only when they are taken in molten state or in aqueous solution. And in case of electrolytic conductors, flow of electricity is due to the flow of ions. Next topic is band theory of metals. In case of metals, the atomic orbital of metal atoms are so close in energy that they overlap to form a large number of molecular orbitals very close in energy, and the set of molecular orbitals is called a band. For example, in the formation of a band by overlap of n2s1 orbitals of n lithium atoms. Now here in this case, remember that just as two atomic orbital combines to form two molecular orbitals. So in case of lithium, if we combine n atomic orbital, that is n2s1 atomic orbital of lithium. So n atomic orbitals will give n molecular orbitals. In case of lithium, the lower half of the molecular orbitals are completely filled while the upper half is empty. Now when we apply the current, what will happen? Electrons can move into the vacant levels and hence electric current can flow. Now if we discuss the case of beryllium, in case of beryllium, the 2s orbitals are filled and the band formed from 2s orbitals will be completely filled Hence, no conduction of electricity should occur. But actually, beryllium is a better conductor than lithium. This can be explained by suggesting that not only 2s orbitals overlap to form band, but 2p orbitals also overlap to form an empty band. That is, the band formed by lower energy valence orbital, that is 2s, is known as valence band, and the band formed by slightly higher energy valence orbitals is called a conduction band. And electrons can flow from valence band to conduction band. So when we apply electric current, electrons can flow from valence band to conduction band. Explanation of behavior of conductors, insulators and semiconductors on the basis of band theory. In case of conductors, if the valence band is partially filled or it overlaps with the higher energy or unoccupied conduction band, then electrons can easily flow under the influence of an applied electrical field. That is, they can flow from valence band to conduction band. Hence, metal conduct electricity. Second is insulators. If the gap between the filled valence band and the unoccupied conduction band is large, that is, if the gap between valence band and conduction band is so large, that is, electron cannot jump from valence band to conduction band. Hence, these substances has extremely low conductivity and behaves as insulator. Third case is semiconductors. If the gap between the valence band and the conduction band is small, that is, some electrons may jump from valence band to conduction band on applying electrical field. Hence, the substance shows some conductivity and it acts as a semiconductor. In case of conductors, the filled valence band and the unoccupied conduction band overlap with each other. In case of insulator, the gap between valence band and conduction band is so large, and in case of semiconductors, the gap between filled valence band and empty conduction band is small. In case of semiconductors, electrical conductivity of semiconductors increases with increase in temperature, because when we increase the temperature, more electrons can jump from valence band to conduction band, and hence electrical conductivity of semiconductors increases with increase in temperature. Substances like silicon and germanium show this type of behavior and are called intrinsic semiconductors, that is, pure semiconductors. Now, the conductivity of these intrinsic semiconductor is too low to be of practical use, so their conductivity can be increased by doping. Doping can be done with an impurity which is electron rich or electron deficient. Doping is addition of impurity from outside in a crystal. That is known as doping. Now, first is electron rich impurities. Silicon and germanium belongs to group 14 and has 4 valence electron in the outermost shell. Now, when these group 14 elements are doped with group 15 elements like phosphorus or arsenic, which contains 5 valence electron, then some of the lattice sites in silicon or germanium crystal are occupied by these group 15 elements, and silicon doped with electron rich impurities, that is, when group 14 elements are doped with group 15 elements, they are known as N-type semiconductors. Second is electron deficient impurities. When group 14 elements, silicon, germanium, which are intrinsic semiconductors, when these are doped with group 13 elements like boron, aluminium, which are electron deficient, that is, which contain 3 valence electron, the place where 4th valence electron is missing, is called a hole or electron vacancy. Now, when group 14 elements are doped with group 13 elements, as group 13 elements are electron deficient, so in the crystal, a hole or electron vacancy is created, and this type of semiconductors are called p-type semiconductors. So when group 14 elements are doped with group 13 elements, they are known as p-type semiconductors, and when group 14 elements are doped with group 15 elements, they are known as n-type semiconductors. So this is the n-type semiconductors. Arsenic is a group 15 elements, and here boron, which is a group 13 elements, is a p-type semiconductor. Now, how the conductivity increased when we doped group 14 elements with group 15 in case of n-type semiconductors. As group 15 elements contain 5 valence electron, so this fifth electron, which is extra electron, these delocalized and therefore increases the conductivity of silicon or germanium. As the increase in conductivity is due to negatively charged electron, the silicon or germanium crystal doped with electron-rich impurities are called as n-type semiconductors. Now here in p-type of semiconductors, group 13 elements have only 3 valence electrons. They can form 3 covalent bonds with the neighboring silicon atoms. Thus a hole is created at the site where 4th electron is missing. This electron is called as hole or electron vacancy. An electron from the neighboring atom can jump to fill up this electron hole, but then an electron hole is created at the site from where electron has jumped. As it continues, the electron holes will move in opposite direction. Now when the electric field is applied, the electrons move towards the positively charged plate and the electron hole move towards the negatively charged plate as if they carry positive charge, and therefore they are known as p-type semiconductors. Next is applications of n-type and p-type semiconductors. Various combinations of n-type and p-type semiconductors are used for making electronic components. These are used in making diodes and rectifiers. These are also used in making transistors, and NPN and PNP type of transistors are used to detect or amplify radio or audio signals. Germanium and silicon are group 14 elements and therefore a characteristic valence of 4 and form 4 bonds as in diamond. A large variety of solid state materials have been prepared by the combination of 13 and 15 or 12 and 16 to stimulate average valence of 4 as in germanium and or silicon. So here some compounds are given, that is of group 13 to group 15 element: gallium arsenide, INSB, which is the compound of indium and tin. Now gallium arsenide semiconductors have very fast response and have revolutionized the design of semiconductor devices. Zinc sulfide, cadmium sulfide, these are the examples of group 12 to 16 compounds. In these compounds, the bonds are not perfectly covalent and the ionic character depends on the electronegativities of 2 elements. Also, it is interesting that transition metal oxide shows marked differences in the electrical properties. Titanium oxide, chromium oxide and ReO3 behaves like metals. Also, the oxides of vanadium, VO, VO2, VO3 and the oxides of titanium, that is TiO3, shows metallic or insulating properties depending on the temperature. So this is all about electrical properties in solids. Next is magnetic properties. Every substance has some magnetic properties associated with it, and the origin of these magnetic properties lies in electrons. Each electron in an atom behaves like a tiny magnet. Its magnetic moment originates from two types of motions: orbital motion around the nucleus and its spin around its own axis. Electron, being a charged particle and undergoing these motion, that is orbital motion and spin motion, can be considered as a small loop of current which possesses a magnetic moment. Thus, each electron has a permanent spin and an orbital magnetic moment associated with it. The magnitude of this magnetic moment is very small and measured in the unit called Bohr magneton. So, on the basis of their magnetic properties, substances can be classified into 5 categories. First is paramagnetism. Paramagnetic substances are weakly attracted by the magnetic field, and they are magnetized in a magnetic field in the same direction. Now this is the paramagnetic substance and this is the direction of magnetic field. So magnetic field lines will pass in this way in paramagnetic substances. They lose their magnetism in the absence of magnetic field. That is, when we remove the magnetic field, these substances, they will lose their magnetic properties. And paramagnetism is due to the presence of one or more unpaired electron. These are the examples of paramagnetic substances: O2, Cu2 positive, Fe plus 3, chromium plus 3. These are the examples of paramagnetic substances. Next is diamagnetism. Diamagnetic substances, these are weakly repelled by the magnetic field. Diamagnetism is shown by those substances in which all the electrons are paired and there are no unpaired electrons. They are weakly magnetized in a magnetic field in opposite direction. Now these are the examples of diamagnetic substances, that is H2O, NaCl, C6H6, that is benzene. When diamagnetic substances are placed in external magnetic field, so this is how the magnetic field lines will pass through the diamagnetic substances. Third is ferromagnetic substances. Few substances like iron, cobalt, nickel, CrO2 are attracted very strongly by a magnetic field. Besides strong attractions, these substances can be permanently magnetized. So these substances are strongly attracted by magnetic field. These are known as ferromagnetic substances. In solid state, the metal ions of ferromagnetic substances are grouped together into a small region called domains, and each domains act as a tiny magnet. Now in the absence of magnetic field, these domains are aligned randomly. But when we apply magnetic field, in case of ferromagnetic substances, all the domains, they will align in the same direction, and a strong magnetic effect is produced. This ordering of domains persists even when the magnetic field is removed, and that is why ferromagnetic substances are used to make permanent magnets. So ferromagnetic substances are strongly attracted by magnetic field and the domains align in the same direction when we apply magnetic field in ferromagnetic substances. Next is antiferromagnetism. Substances like MnO showing antiferromagnetism have domain structure similar to ferromagnetics, but the domains are oppositively oriented such that they cancel each other's magnetic moment. In case of ferromagnetic substances, these domains, they are in opposite direction such that they cancel each other's magnetic moment. And the last is ferrimagnetism. It is observed when the magnetic moments of the domains in the substance are aligned in parallel and anti-parallel direction in unequal numbers. So this is how the domains will look like in ferrimagnetism. Here all the domains are not cancelling each other magnetic moment. That is, they are present in parallel and anti-parallel direction in unequal number. Ferrimagnetic substances are weakly attracted by magnetic fields. Example: Fe3O4, MgFe2O4, ZnFe2O4 are the examples of ferrimagnetic substances. And these substances lose ferrimagnetism on heating. That is, when we heat these substances, they will lose their ferrimagnetism and becomes paramagnetic. This is all about the magnetic properties of solids. There are 5 types: paramagnetism, diamagnetism, ferromagnetism, antiferromagnetism, and ferrimagnetism. Now after doing this, you can solve NCERT in text question number 23 and 24, and NCERT exercise question number 14, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 22, 25 and 26. Now I will be discussing the homework solution of lecture number 5. Question number 19. What type of defects can arise when a solid is heated? Which physical property is affected by it and in what way? The answer for this question is, when a solid is heated, vacancy defect is produced in the crystal. This is because on heating, some of the atom or ions leave the lattice site completely. As a result, density of the substance decreases because some atoms or ions leave the crystal completely. So, when a solid is heated, vacancy defect is created and the density decreases. Next question is, what type of stoichiometric defect is shown by zinc sulfide and AgBr? So in case of zinc sulfide, Frankel defect is shown due to large difference in the size of cations and anions, whereas AgBr shows both Schottky and Frankel defect. Question number 21 is, explain how vacancy are introduced in an ionic solid when a cation of higher valence is added as an impurity in it. So this we had already discussed in previous lecture in impurity defect. Example, when we add strontium chloride in NaCl. So each strontium plus 2 replaces 2 Na positive. One place is occupied by strontium plus 2 and one place will remains vacant. That is, 1 mole of strontium 2 positive will create 1 vacancy. Next question is question number 22. Ionic solids which have anionic vacancies due to metal excess defect develop color. Explain with the help of suitable example. This question is also discussed. That is, this was also discussed in the previous lecture. Now next is NCERT exercise question number 23. Explain the following terms with suitable example. Schottky defect, Frankel defect, interstitial and F centers. Previous lecture was all about these defects. So this question was already explained in the previous lecture. So these are the questions of lecture number 5. Thank you. Please like and subscribe this channel.